Whoa. It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. I'm in the garage doing stained glass work and some woodwork over here. It's a rainy day here in the Southern Sierras. Winter is finally upon us. We are getting some much needed rain today and tomorrow. And that is a blessing. That truly is a blessing because water is our friend. I'm drinking some Bear Pelagic brand coffee right here. You can get the coffee cups down below. And I thought I would just chime in here on this beautiful rainy day. I got a question today from one of the tribe asking me about the difference between manifesting something and then getting something and it might not be what you really wanted. I think that's kind of what he asked me. And so what he was asking me was like he wanted to, it's a musician. So he's trying to manifest a musical path. And he's been getting a bunch of opportunities that are showing up as the universe provides to this request. And they're not panning out to be what they were supposed to be. And what I would say to that is, and I think we run afoul of this a lot, is we don't really know what we're asking for sometimes. When we put in the big request to God and he does his work with the universe to begin to line up our requests, we haven't really panned out exactly what that request would entail. And so along the way, we get a bunch of dead ends, maybe, where we're gathering information or we're learning something about ourselves. And they seem like that they're kind of the request gone awry versus learning experience towards the request being answered in only a time frame that God would understand, right? So I can look at this and I can go, I remember that video I made down on the beach, and I want to say it was like 2018, 2017, where I was like, I put a request in. I was super focused, made a video about how I wanted to achieve 100,000 subscribers to get the YouTube play button. And I wanted to get a ranch house with mini donkeys and all that. And I think I even put pictures of that stuff up there. And it was pretty much this house that I put up there. I achieved the 100,000 subscribers. I got the play button pretty quickly. But then to get where I ended up here, I had to go through a bunch of gnarliness. Like, so when I put that request in to God to align the universe to fulfill that request, I didn't know in order to end up at the ranch house would have my whole community and previous home and all my possessions burn up in a fire. I didn't see that one coming. But yet I had to go through all of that to ultimately get here. And it's not saying that like, well, maybe it is. Maybe it is. We don't really know what we're asking for. So if we get the manifestation principle, maybe ultimately I did manifest my entire community burning down and my home burning down and all my possessions burning up, to ultimately get here. After all, this is a crazy dream we're participating in with or without God's blessing sometimes, right? And so what I'm getting at is it's pretty easy to ask for these goals. And if I look at my own life since then, I've been pretty quiet about putting stuff in there for God. Because I did learn the lesson the hard way is you might not be ready for the journey to get your request answered. And ultimately the journey will be rewarded if your intent is in line with God's plan for you. Because, right, like time is not linear, it is infinite. And so God already knew what the outcome was going to be when you put in the request. In fact, God already knew you were going to put in the request because God knows that knew you before you were born. But that's a different conversation. And what I'm getting into is as I sit here, I'm doing my art and trying to still working on manifesting a life completely sustained by creativity, right? Like that is my ultimate goal is to create a life where I get to live the ultimate adventure sustained by my own creativity of my mind and my hands, working with wood and glass and pens and pencils and cameras and all this kind of stuff. And along the way, man, I constantly get setbacks. And I look at like recently, like it's been a struggle, dude. It's been like we got here and it's all going according to plan. But then you get to a place where you're like, uh-oh, what am I doing? And what is the request I've put in? Like, right, once you've gotten a certain level of superficial things that were in the request, what ultimately was the request? Like you lose track because that's the reality of experiencing linear time is like you forget what you really were asking for at all. So I think you got to go back to what you were really trying to dig deeper and go, what was the real request? Because the real request usually is deeper than the surface request, right? And so And I've been struggling with that the last like 6 months in a metaphysical way, in the sense of like I got here and I put my head down for 2.5 years and built up our facility here, our ranch or our homestead or whatever you want to call it. And then I kind of got to the end of the building part, right? Which was just head down, build. And then I'm like, now what? I mean, I still want to go surfing. I'm still a skater. I still do want to do all the things that I love to do. I still want to go up to the Burnside again and out to FDR and, you know, I have plans. And yet underneath it all is like, well, what was the original request when I was sitting at the beach that day and I put in the ask to God to manifest these things, right? Because the mini donkey's right there, like right there under the tree is the mini donkey. I remember when me, myself, and I dropped that off at the burn down the place after the fire, and I was like, oh, the mini donkey's arrived, and she went out of her way to drop it off, dude. And that was like the first sign of even like in the midst of all the fire and chaos that there is a plan. And so if I back it up, well, what was the ultimate request underneath those kind of things? And it was to sustain myself as an artist and creative spirit and not limit myself to the tedium of self-doubt and conformity, to not buy into the status quo, basically, right? And so I've gotten here, and you know, again, it's like I'm not here alone. I have my wife and my son and my daughters out there. Like we're all manifesting this together. So we gotta, as a team, we gotta make sure all of our underlying truths are in alignment. And that's the hard part about it, especially when you're doing this with other people, is everybody has to get under the hood, if you will, and figure out what is the engine that is propelling you on the mission. And I'm at that crazy thing where, like, you know, you get kind of everything like stripped away to a point where you have to act. You either have to give up or you have to push forward, right? Like, yeah, like things are like financially super tough right now, and it almost seems like it's doomed to fail. But that is ultimately when you got to dig in the hardest and realize that, like, oh, your real request wasn't just to arrive here. Your real request was this deeper metaphysical mission in line with God that you were on, that you might not have even understood that what you were requesting wasn't what you really were requesting. It was what you were about, right? What you were about deep inside as a creation of God, mirrored in his image, right? And so when I sit here, I find that, like, yeah, that's the hardest part, because self-doubt comes in. Like, like I'm sitting here like on this rainy day working on my stained glass, and trying to like hone my skills at that. And then I'm over here, trying to make more wood art and not surrender the cause. My skateboard's right there. My surfboards are right there. Like the world we've built is out there. And I've got, it's happening, man. It's right there. Look at that. Like there's concrete to skate, man. And so I think the hardest part is when we hit these roadblocks in our journey, is to realize they're exactly what we requested. We requested the roadblocks so that we could overcome the roadblocks. We requested the dead ends so that we could turn around and go back to the intersection and discover a new street, if you will, right? And like the adventure continues until it's over, right? Like, it ain't over till it's over, man. So that was kind of my thoughts. I hope I answered the question. And so on that thing, like, yeah, links are down below. Join, become a member, dude, and help this artist try to achieve his underlying request to God, which is to be self-sustaining through this practice, right? The link's down below. The Etsy account, a bunch of my art's up there. A bunch of the woodworking stuff's on there. I'm about to start putting some of the stained glass stuff I'm up on there. But there's also links if you want to... you can get some t-shirts, some hats, and PayPal, all that kind of stuff. But the most important thing you can do is get busy living and use the name tags. All right? This is The Illusion. God's blessed us. See ya.